welcome to FaceHAMMER live show. I got a close up of Byron's face there. Hope everyone's doing well. It's been a while since we recorded.
Has lots changed today.
Yeah. Well, there wasn't really any releases, but then today has made a big change. But well, unless you'd got the illegal download like 3 weeks ago, then yeah.
I think it's safe to say that the most recent event I went to, more people knew what was going on in the new edition than I did. So, yeah, that's still the case. I've had a little look, and I'm downloading it, but my download speed's pretty limited, so we're working our way through it.
Yeah. So, hi everyone. Hope you're doing well. It's we're live, so it's going to be a bit of a kind of loose show. We've obviously got the new handbook, new battle scroll. Some big changes to the competitive meta. We're going to have a stab at talking about what we think is good and bad in a tier list format, because that's always popular. We could get things wrong. People could tell us
there's some rules. That's good. There's some hard and fast rules due to the focus of the new edition that I think you can apply that kind of they complete 50% of that tier list in a one-er, in my opinion.
Yeah,
some things are just going to get good.
Yeah, and we'll get into that discussion later, but I'll probably just address the lack of content so far since the last video. Now, I've had a lot of stuff going on IRL, which is in real life for those who don't know what that means, but also been to a couple of events. So we did 2 team events. I've got some, pictures. I could do a show on it. It's the old handbook, so I took Gargants to one and I took Oggers to the most recent one, which was Tomlin's Brotherhood event, which was awesome.
Was great. Super nice crowd.
Lots of good, really amazing crowd there, so I had a really nice time. And obviously the new handbook's dropped now. Normally we do a handbook review on the pre-order day, ready to go. Now I'll just talk about it. We didn't get a hard copy. I got a PDF that's watermarked, which I wasn't allowed to share. So it didn't seem like I should just do a man reads a laptop, and I couldn't be asked, and I didn't have the time to make bespoke PDFs, PowerPoints on all the rules.
Basically reproduce the key areas.
Yeah, basically rewrite the book in your own PDF or book thing. But people had already done it, and because it was leaked, it kind of seemed like it isn't much input without the battle scroll and without sort of talking about when the FAQ drops and talk a bit more about the meta. So we're not really going to do a full General's Handbook review because I think you can read it for yourselves. You can go out and get it now.
A couple of people have done a really good job, or particularly one person.
I would say AOS Coach's video is amazing. So if you want to go and get a fully overview of what it is, get some really nice graphics, just go watch his video. There's literally no point me doing what he's done because he's done a better job than I will. So
yeah, he's done a fantastic job of it. But my God, that must have taken some work.
Yeah. But good news. We will be doing Battle Tome reviews going forward when we get the physical copies. So the next 2 we have, and we will be able to do a show on those shortly. So watch this space. We will be doing those. Now, there will be some probably more focus on tournament gaming and list shows and things like that, and sort of less overview, read the book type content, which is probably good for most people. But I just wanted to address that so people knew why we hadn't released a video on the handbook on pre-order day. I did have a couple of people message me why it's been quiet in the Discord. It's because basically I've had a lot of disruption in my personal life with extra people living in my house I wasn't expecting to be there. People who spoke to me at events, and animals, and one animal go missing, and lots of trips to Ireland and back and Hungary and all this kind of stuff. So basically just a lot of stuff going on, which has meant that I was quite nice for me to take the foot off the gas and have a little bit of a break from content, which was quite fortuitous that over Christmas there wasn't really any releases or anything, and it generally is a quiet time for for AOS
in general.
Content releases, basically
historically.
So that's the elephant in the room addressed. I don't have my handbook either, Grace here, so I don't have a physical copy yet either. I do have a...
Hey, Russ, Charles.
Hey, Russ. So I think we get into it. So
Let's jump in.
Yeah, I think what we'll do is probably just go through the change points, just for people who aren't aware, but you probably are aware, and go through the battle scroll. But I think we're going to talk more about the impact on what we think will suddenly be better or worse or good, and what those changes mean. So I'm not going to read it verbatim or put pictures of the book up, but I'm just going to go through and say so. It's going to be quite a free form show. And if you're in the chat, please let us know your insights. If you disagree, agree, or if you think some faction is going to be good now, and then we can essentially just have a chat. And like, I thought it's better to do a less structured live show for start off the new year, and get into it that way.
Battle Scroll's linked in the chat for anyone that hasn't found it or can't find it because it's not necessarily intuitive. So there's a link.
So it's on the Warhammer community FAQ and downloads Age of Sigmar Battle Scroll Galatian Champions.
Anyway, millennials, I've got you a direct link. I've saved you 6 clicks.
Just if you wanted to know where it's hidden. I mean, put
located. Clearly.
So if you've got your physical handbook, and stock shortages haven't affected you like they have been for everyone for months, which is less about that, then you'll notice that the Purple Sun has got the old rules in it, and there's still change to the new rules.
It's produced ahead of time, isn't it? So these changes have happened after the final revisions for what we're reading to you now. Yeah.
There is basically the magenta changes in the front bit is like your rules. So the only real thing really is the Daughters of Cain battle tactics. They've removed the bonus points because obviously that seems silly. They get the only army that's got bonus points in their battle tactics.
Yep, they were too good.
Then I think that's everything. Obviously, all the other changes have been out before, so I'm not going to go over them again. You could read it. Good. Click on the link. There you go. So points. So one of the good things is the 5-point brackets have been removed.
Oh, thank God! Like it never needed to be there. This is like, going back to Coke Classic, isn't it? It was right already. It never needed to be added. I'm super pleased it's taken away.
I've got 0 with my rum.
I think this is I hope this is an indication of a general shift towards simplification and careful pruning things that aren't necessary.
It literally made no sense to have a 5-point bracket to get a further granularity when you can't get it right at a 10-point granularity. So
no, exactly that. I mean, if we do maths on changing 500-point models by 5 points as well, it's absolutely pointless.
What I like to call design wankery, because you can sit there and talk about it. Oh, up 10. No, it's I don't think you should go up 10. I think you should go down 10. Or I don't know. Should we meet in the middle? Or leave it the same? No, add 5. Why? Because we want to change it because we listen. Bollocks. Don't bother. Yeah.
I mean, ironically, we're just about to start an edition where small heroes have got the biggest focus they've ever had, and they're probably the only ones where there is a debate about it anyway. So,
and a lot of them have gone down. Like you look at the drops, you can see very few increases. Like this is cities, so a few things gone up. That you saw in lists. I think a lot of this is driven by what do you see in competitive lists, because that data's gathered. If you read the MetaWatch articles, they talk about it, and basically they're saying, right, we see this, so they'll go up. And if they're doing a 5-point adjustment, it's just round up or down. Basically, most stuff's gone down. Then, I don't know anything about cities. I don't care about cities.
I would agree with other Russ that they've swung for the fences on some of the adjustments. I quite like it too. I'd much rather that they're trying to do, things. As long as it's well considered, I'd much rather that people, are like, right, 30 points instead of 10, because that's helpful. Having said this, I think that trends should be, in general, for more things to go up than down, because there's quite a lot of things on quite a small table these days.
Well, I generally think when AOS 3 dropped and you saw the points for Cruel Boys, Stormcast, they were pointed higher because the whole idea was that there'd be less on the table. And
They
what
were
they've
right.
done is they then released books with the old mindset, where people, whoever writing them, because obviously they wrote the books before, they wrote the new book, and they kind of, I shouldn't go up to say the same. And then that meant that over time, the Cruel Boys have been dropped, and to bring it in line with the older style of AOS2. But what really, I would just like to see less on the table, because
it'd be brilliant.
less to paint, less to think about, less to move. It removes a barrier to entry. Like, really, do you need 160 wounds worth of models on the table? No one wants to play against it.
Hey, it's the most frequently there's the most frequency of 150 plus wound armies that there's ever been at the moment.
Yeah, and it's easy for some.
Some of them can get,
and then some can add more.
Some can add wards. Oh my god!
But or summon more. So you go, I got more. I got more. I got more. So,
I played against 300 wounds in one of my games.
So, yeah, I mean, it's crazy. So we'll go through. It kind of makes Gargants irrelevant, but I'll talk about it later. So we'll go through Daughters of Cain. Some big increases if you compare it to other factions. I don't necessarily agree, and normally I'm the one that's saying Daughters need changes. I think their changes to their battle tactics and grand strategy would be more effective way of curtailing their power. Things like their grand strategy where they just got to fight or die in the game, that seems silly to me, because you're going to get that.
Yeah.
Like 99 times out of 100.
Yeah, I mean, they have well-pointed smaller heroes and a wide variety of them. So I guess the question would be whether these points are done in mind with this edition. And if they haven't, then they don't make sense. And if they do, then they do make sense.
Because if they're doing it from data, the only data they've got is the old handbook.
Yeah.
So you can't. It's impossible. If they're doing it with a gut feel, but then you look at the drops. Okay, so we're dropping the Slaughter Queen. I mean, the Hag Queen on Cauldron of Blood's gone up, but she's not a Galatian champion.
No, she's too many points.
The Iron Scale's gone up 5 points, but that's a round. The Hag Queen's gone up, Medusa. But most stuff, like, that's because they're in lists, right? So
yeah.
I don't...
just gotta love those Warlocks. Warlocks are so good.
So good
Warlocks,
right now.
Warlocks were so good.
They're 130 points.
130
They're a wizard.
Points.
They shoot. They're fast.
They got a 4-up save. They've got Rend 1. They got a shooting attack. My old mixed order list is like crying right now. That would have been that's like my dream in a unit there.
I love that as well. Baron Breakfast in the chat. The points gave me extra 25 points for a Maggotkin.
It's
great. Buy whatever. Can't buy anything
Triumph
for that.
You just bought a Triumph some percent of the time.
Died in head. Get that endless spell, which
this is a bad model. Yeah, I mean, I converted mine for that reason.
In Russ, if you do 220 models that you've designed and 3D printed, I don't ever want to play you again. They will look nice, but I don't want to play you.
His next project is not going to be 220 models, but it will be gorgeous.
I know he sent me a little sneak peek today, so I was quite excited.
I didn't get a picture, Russ.
I'm his favourite. No, I'm kidding.
How dare you.
Russ is stick together, mate. Russ is stick together.
Marafi's is kind of.
I mean, Marafi's gone up, which I find bizarre because I don't think she's as good. And I know she's good, but 700 points, she's getting into like Kragnos-esque territory.
I don't know. She's still uniquely survivable. I think she's an incredibly hard model to point correctly.
Yeah,
and she still wins games, doesn't she? Let's face it.
But she also like loses games because as long as you start chipping away early, she's not that hard to kill. You just got to put some effort into focusing on every turn.
Well, let's just hope that none of the new scenarios make the board smaller.
And she's not a Galatian champion because she's unique, right?
Yeah.
So, but the board's the same size. It's just where you can put your models might be smaller.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, give her a narrow funnel.
Fire Slayers, loads of drops, and they're going to be amazing.
I think this is mad. I think this is legit insanity. They are really good. They're not sexy, and people tend to repeat war scrolls from them. You either get like the diehards who are like, "I love dwarves. I'd be playing dwarves, whatever," and then you get people who jump on the power, but they tend to repeat units. Hey, Paul.
You say they're not sexy, but some people do find short, slightly hairy, ginger people sexy. So they might
who are more aggressive looking than they are. Absolutely.
I I do find it funny that Richie plays him being a Scouser. I don't know.
I know, it's
Maybe I
great,
should say
isn't
that.
But yeah, I think this is utter insanity for things to be going down. A few are just going down by 5, which is going to happen anyway. But I think they're super solid. Anything that makes them a little bit cheaper, fine.
Oh, Deepkin. I can talk about Deepkin.
Yay. You can. Well, this is about to be a very relevant discussion, I think, because they were not doing well.
Oh, the last handbook just screwed them. Like,
it shafted them and twisted the knife real hard.
It was like, it made thralls irrelevant, which were your main combat unit, because of bounty hunters, and you didn't need the reach because they had a 2-inch reach.
Yep.
But now it's gone, so you're like, cool, that's good.
Not only that, there's more we can touch on it. There's more we can touch on at the end of this. Yeah, they're going to be good.
Leviathan's down 40, Aspect of the Sea down 35, Tidecaster's down 10 because it's overpriced crap, Lotan down 5 because he's already amazing, Volturnus down 20,
Sure.
The big one, Morsargard down 15 and Ishtengard down 15. Sharks have gone up 5. So actually do not think Alapex is good anymore.
Do you think this is a result of using data that inherently punishes repetition? Because, if they're looking at instances of unit taken, let's say they were, if you're running a shark list, it's like running a drones list or a flies list.
I think this is, as a Deepkin player, this doesn't mean Alapexes, you don't take them. But some of the stuff that was fringe choice that I took, which I liked, but wasn't really optimal, or didn't get a look in, like Ishtengard and Morsargard, at 195, well overpointed. Definitely needed a drop. To make the internal balance better by putting the Alapexes up by the 5 rounds, because it's just a rounding thing. That's all it is. It's not an increase, really. It's just, are they 165 or are they 170, basically?
We're just trying to balance it out.
I think this is a really good... So the Aspect of the Storm coming down makes it more competitive with Aspect of the Sea. I still don't think the Eidolons are dropped enough. I think they should be 280, 300, with the Aspect of the Sea being 300 and the Aspect of the Storm being 280.
How many wounds have they got?
Like 12. But they don't do a lot. They're not monsters. They don't benefit from being a champion. It's like they don't really do much. The Aspect of the Sea sees play just because you need the magic, you need the rerolls, but then as a combat, it doesn't do anything in combat. No. So it's just a tanky, annoying utility piece, basically.
Like an Archon, but less utility. Is it possible that sharks are getting allied into other lists so their frequency looks high? Could be. I don't know how the data's used, but I think that, there definitely were shark lists with
But I would say that I don't think they use the data exclusively. I think there is some thought behind it because obviously, Matt's a very kind of objective person. I think he kind of understands. So, like, if you were using data, I would expect to see Reavers go up in IDNF, but they don't really need an increase. But they're taking a lot because they are so good, but at 170 points, they're not. They don't need to go up. They're just good. So like it's fine. Getting the internal balance right on a book that's got a very small selection of war scrolls is really important. Just as it is when you've got lots of them and you're trying to make each choice viable, you kind of need to do that more with rules, not points.
Yep.
But when you've got a faction like this, I think these are great adjustments as a Deepkin player. The change of the handbook's welcomed. It gives me some options. The changes in points, great. I've got some list ideas. I'm excited about that, so it's good. KO, honestly don't know enough about them, but there's massive drops in here as well.
Arrow strong.
Navigator and Admiral have gone up, but frigates are down. They've dropped all the Underworld's war bands, but I don't think people played many of these anyway.
No, there's quite a lot of them anyway.
A lot of the heroes have gone down. Engine riggers have gone down. Thunderers have gone down. It's just so I think KO can be decent.
Maybe now you'll see people taking more dudes in less ironclads.
Yeah, and like some of the Lumineth drops. So like a lot of the unique kind of stuff's gone down.
Makes sense.
Which
you didn't really see
you
it.
don't
The
see a
problem
lot
with
of
that
the
book is
stuff.
the strength of the battle line, right? Like,
Yeah,
your kangaroos are great, your spearmen are insane, if not sexy, and your archers are still incredible. And then you have things to make them better and or techless. And some foot characters, like you just end up not finding space for those things. So it's nice that they've tried to bring them back in.
yeah. Wind charges have gone down, and I'm surprised at that because they're playing quite a lot of lists. Dawn Riders have
By
gone
very
down
good
as well.
players, yeah.
The Rune of Petrification's got up, thankfully. I would have liked to see a change to its rules that it's not
I would agree.
doing. It seemed almost. I had to question JP when I played against it. It was like when you cast at the start of every movement phase, at the end of every movement phase, I'm thinking, but you don't move, it's your go, so I get twice. I mean, it just seems ridiculous. Like,
Oh yeah, it feels like it was written in a different edition. It is
yeah,
very strong.
needs an FAQ. It needs to be changed because it's just stupid. Seraphon have had quite a lot of increases again.
Fourth time lucky. Are we there?
I'm starting to feel like they're not super competitive anymore.
The difficult thing there is the strength in the book was always of its coherency, and the rules haven't been changed. And trying to change that with points means that actually what you have is an army that's still very good in the hands of absolute pros. And if someone steps on with them, and it's a complete nuance army, they're probably going to feel like they're getting very little in comparison to their opponents. So as far as the tournament scene concerned, I'm kind of fine with quite a lot of this, but I just wonder how it would feel if you started with lizards.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they've had like little knocks over time, and it's starting to, it's almost like the army's only good if you like then go extreme build and you get good dice with like your Basti shooting or whatever. You almost can't take a balanced Saurusy list because it's just bad.
You can't rewrite war scrolls, can you? You can do little changes to like terrain piece or the wound negation or stuff like that. But until they get a new book, I guess you're always going to be putting a band-aid over it. So I'm fine with this. Fine with it on the tournament scene. They're still nasty to play against. So
massive drops in Stormcast. A lot of them are just 5 points adjustments. There are so many heroes.
Until I make a Herald or 5 points, I won't take one.
Yeah, I don't. I just don't think. I mean, like
what
things
is
like
a Herald though?
The Ordinator going down 20, maybe. Knight Heraldor's 100 now.
Wow.
Whatever. Gardas has gone up 20.
Yeah, I think the Stormcast book is the most singularly over-scrolled book in the game.
It's got 2 pages in the PDF, so
nuts, isn't it? It's crazy. Yeah. If anyone is considering starting that army, just reach out to someone and say like, "Hey, could you half the scrolls here and just put a highlight over them? I don't want the bent ones, but let me know which ones I don't need to look at." It's a really good way to get on with the army.
Wow, some big drops in Sylvaneth, considering they're quite recent. 30 points off a Tree Lord, 15 off Drycha, 35 off Lady of Vines, 20 off the... I ignore that. Alariel's down 20, Durfu's down 20, Tree Lord Ancient down 30, Gossiped Archer's down 10, Spike Revenant's down 15.
Yeah. They're kind of elite, aren't they? Their armies did look quite small.
I've still not played against them.
Yeah, maybe you'll see like one more medium monster on the table and like one less small unit or something like that now. Sacrosanct did do well, Russ Charles.
I'll ignore Beast because there's a reason there's no adjustments in there.
Yep.
Blades of Corn. They could keep dropping Skull Cannons and Blood Warriors. I'm sure you probably still won't see them.
Just take ogres, guys, if you want that vibe.
Or just take slaves. If you want to play Chaos Warriors infantry, take slaves. Just better army. If you want to take Bloodthirsters and explode stuff in Mortal Wounds, then take blades. Otherwise, play slaves, basically. Disciples of Zinch. Basically, just adjustments. Anything that's really gone down is the Burning Chariot.
Wiggling. Yeah.
And a few bits. So, yeah. It's Head Knights. Now, talk about this a little bit. Huge drops
They don't need help.
They are gonna be, if you've got someone who actually got the models and painted them and has the collection, Slaanesh are gonna be very competitive, I think.
Slaanesh are absolutely, in my opinion, straight up at like problem level good already. Yeah. Never mind the edition that's coming, which I think they'll do well in. Yeah, they're real good. Their summoning is like incredibly efficient. They can do basically everything. I found this really surprising.
Yeah, like
hugely
Sinessa down 20, Shard Speaker down 5, Mask down 20, Lord of Pain down 10, Enrapturous down 10, Dexessa down 40, Epitome down 5. Probably could have gone down more. 35 points off the Exalted Chariot, 30 off a Keeper, 40 off of Shalaxi, 25 off Shalesk, 10 off Blissbarb Seekers. The Dread Pageant's gone down, which is not a bad war scroll anyway. Exalted Chariot's down, Fiends are down, Flayer's down. This is the big one. Painbringer's down another 10. It's 110 points now for Painbringer unit.
This makes my soul bleed because I would have, I would have taken a portion of this.
Let's be true though, right? That we're really glad about, and that is that Fiend Bloods have stayed as they are, because Slangord Fiend Bloods are that good. We don't want to adjust them. We're not sure if we're going to create a cow meta.
Cow meta, a moo meta for sure.
A new meta for the moo meta. But like Seekers are down. There's so many drops. Like, and you just like, Slickblade Seekers down 20 points. Yeah, they're overpriced crap at the moment, but you're starting to get.
Well, these aren't small percentages. If you change those to percentages, they would all be significant because there's not much expensive stuff in that book that isn't a keeper. No. Andrew just said, "Is this the first case of the named version of a model is cheaper than the generic one?" Shalaxi.
No, I think Rotigus used to be cheaper, but I'm not sure. Can't remember.
It's rare though. You're right. It is rare. Slaanesh and Mega good now.
Shalaxi's trash, so
I mean, if you start writing Slaanesh armies now, I used to know it pretty much off by heart. Like the amount of wounds you'd get is like 110. You are literally getting about 50 more.
Yeah,
now
because of that. It's a force multiplier. More units, more points. I agree, Joe. Slaanesh feels like the bottom of the prices until someone starts playing them, and that's the problem with this meta data-driven adjustments. Is someone needs to go out and do it for them to change it, and the problem is that really, it's like driving with just your handbrake. It's kind of like you wish that there would be a bit more forethought and you'd actually design what you want the armies to be, rather than didn't know, I'll break a bit more, I'll change that, just that, and it's almost reactionary. And I think it's good to adjust things when there's a problem, but I just think all this inherent tweaking. I mean, there's 24 factions. It's difficult to get a good representation of everything because
let's acknowledge how hard the job is. It's not a really difficult thing to get right from this point.
And people are emotionally invested in their faction and the models. So people don't play a faction. Some people do, but most people don't play a faction purely on the rules. So the fact that Gloomspite have representation does not, and they might have more representation than, I don't know, Flesh Eaters, doesn't make them a better faction than Flesh Eaters. It just means that there are a lot of people passionate about Grots. Who doesn't like the models are great, the lore's great. When I was a kid, the first thing I had was Moon Clan or Night Goblins.
Tolkien archetypes, there's a lot of reasons that it's kind of ingrained, isn't it? Greenskins are as classic fantasy as it gets. Yeah,
and I think the way you're looking at I don't know. I don't want people to think I know exactly how they adjust things, because I don't. But if you're using data-driven changes for the next handbook, but the handbook significantly changes the balance of what's good and not in the meta, you almost invalidate that mechanism because you're doing too many
That's
changes.
self-refuting.
Like, oh, monsters are great. The monsters will put their points up, but then we've reduced these units. But then when that points reduction comes in, that's when infantry become good. And then you play a handbook, 6 months or whatever it is in this one, which is far too short in my opinion. Then suddenly you're like, oh, these infantry are really good, but we'll adjust them. But then the next handbook's heroes, and then the infantry aren't as important as heroes. And then it's like, and it's just like this. It's like a bloody. It's just crazy.
Isn't it? It's pretty difficult to get it right under the current format.
It's impossible. I mean,
TLDR though, Slaanesh, my god, are they good? Like they've gone from literal like, I don't know how long ago I would have. Whenever their White Dwarf update came out, like just a tad before that, their points changes weren't enough. They were like C, and now they're like S.
Yeah, I'd put them in A probably, but we'll get into that. But I had, just because I think there's a barrier of that you need to have a little bit of skill to play with them. I don't think they're quite as easy as just putting Iron Blasts on the table. But anyway,
they've got a resilient allies pool. I'll touch on that one.
No, they're good. Yeah. But you still got. I still think you've got to be a competent player to use them well. I think they're an army that needs a little bit more like game skill to use than some others. But anyway, like the Lumineth effect. But let's not give them any kudos, right? So, because they're stupid like light elves and we don't like them, and they beat up Nagash and Arcan and they can get into sea. So we got the Maggotkin. So again, I mean, really the things that matter, like Lord of Plagues has gone down 5, Poxbringer, Herald of Nurgle's gone down 15, Rockbringer Sorcerer's down 5, Spoilbox down 20. They're all Galatian champions, so that's good. Rotogus, whatever. Nurglings have gone down 100 points. Puscoil Blight Lords up 5 for the single, just to bring it in line, because I think they wanted to remove the 5, but then if you divide like 250, it's 125. But Puscoil Blight Lords, they went up in the last battle scroll, 250 points for 2 of them, which is expensive in my opinion. Your Blight Kings are 250 for 5. I actually think Blight Kings now are good. They're meta good because of the handbook.
The thing is as well that like having dudes that are brought on by a hero in an edition that likes little heroes on foot more, like suddenly everything about that gets a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, and what's you can't, because Gutrops he's unique, so he's not a champion, but he's still good. Like Festus is good, but he's unique, so he's not a champion. Yeah. So you can't take the Harbinger because he's mounted, so he's not a champion. Yep. So it's stuff like your LOA, your Lord of Afflictions is mounted, so he's not going to count. So your Lord of Blights, your Lord of Plagues, your generic demon heroes like your Spoil Pox, your Scrivener, which are good anyway. Rotbringer Sorcerer, is fine. Sloppy Bile Piper, things like that. I just think if you want a champion and a bodyguard to combo all the stuff, which we'll talk about in a minute, you probably already know, but you've got the formation where you can fight in the hero phase do a heroic action and the unit can fight as well. And it's like, oh, fight. Now, we'll talk about the handbook generally in a minute once we've done all the points and stuff. I actually think some of the stuff is almost like pointless and you can ignore it and you just do what you did and you go, sod it, I don't care, I'm not going to take any of these things, I'm just going to go ram more crushers down your throat. Which will stop working at some point, Byron, if we look at the last
Stopped working last event, yeah.
Then you've got Skaven. Again, I'm not going to go through it all, but loads of little adjustments. Some big drops, a couple of increases. Vanquil's gone up. Again, I'd rather like to see the change to Launchian than change to Vanquil, because I don't think he's too cheap. I just think the combo. Deceiver's gone up. Warbringer's gone up slightly. Most stuff's dropped by 5 points because it's just a 5-point thing. We won't talk about
Skaven anyway.
Yeah, Slaves. Obviously, they've just had a new book, so they're not adjusted in here for whatever reason. No data probably. Lots of War Scrolls. Flesh Eaters. Little adjustments. I mean, Nagash has dropped 55, but you still don't take him because he's trash. Then Nighthaunt, some drops on things like the Black Coach gone down 45 points. Wow, that's a big drop. Script to Mortis down 25. I mean, like, he's so good, wasn't he, at 155? That was the guy that came out with that box set that everyone went, that's cool, and nobody takes.
Yeah.
Glaive Wraith Stalkers down 25. Get those 4 rat weird models that you got with your starter set 4 years ago on the table. Craventhorn Guard down 25. They're the shooting ones that you never see, the crossbows. Yep. Chain Gas down 5. Nagash, whatever. Team Banshee down 25. Lord Executioner's gone down. He's actually pretty good. Night Shroud's gone down on foot, which is good. Obviously, he's a champion. But Nighthaunt have got access to so many good champions, and you're going to be taking Cruel Grass Crusaders and other things that do buffs. You know, you're not Spirit of Torment, your Guardian of Souls. They all buff your army. You run out of hero slots really quickly. Hex Race have gone up 10, which, you know, fine.
People are taking lots of units. Maybe that's one less unit across an army.
Not really, though, is it? I mean, like, yeah, it might be, but so what? Does it matter? Yeah. I mean, when you only kill 2 or 3 of them and you don't ever get to fight anything.
No.
I mean, I watched Ricky play Hexwraith spam Nighthaunt, and it just looked like the worst game of Age of Sigmar I've ever seen.
It's a particularly strange army, isn't it?
It just shouldn't be a thing. Like have an army that basically just puts models at you and you can't move and doesn't die, and then they teleport around and you just go, good game, man. That was like 2 hours well spent, wasn't it? It's just bobbins. Like, I don't even want to play with my Nighthaunt. I was gonna play with them and I thought no.
You got your fishies instead.
Yeah, Death Fish. Bone Reapers, some nice drops in here.
Yeah. Really good.
Death Riders down 10, finally. They've gone down a little bit. Bone Shaper down 5, Soul Mason up 5. That's just to give some delimitation between them. Soul Reaper down 15 because he's trash. You still won't see him. Vokmortian down, but who cares? Nagash down, you won't see him. Stalkers up 5, whatever. They're still great.
They're still brilliant, I think.
The book's great. In this edition, it struggles a bit for foot heroes that aren't unique.
It's got a narrower choice. Yeah,
they're just wizards basically. So you're because your Liege Cavalos are mounted. You don't have a combat foot hero. Mere Kanan, but he's unique, so you don't get any benefit of him being a champion. So, but you do generally take 2 foot heroes. So you're gonna have 2 champions, and the fact they can't be shot at now means like your Soul Mason and your Bone Shaper are going to be they're a lot more survivable.
Plus your army heals, if they can only take like a couple of mortal wounds or something, you're in.
But you can't heal heroes. That's you can if you take Arcan, but it's you actually, when you play OBR, you don't heal as much as people think you do.
Yeah.
You bring back with the Harvester, but that doesn't affect the heroes really, unless they're next to it and you kill something and you could heal them. But your healing from your battle trait is fine, but the only real models that do it is Arcan and Catacross. The Bone Shaper can do it, but only 1 unit, and generally that's the Mortec. You could heal something else, but you can't rally, so that's an avenue gone. So you don't heal as much as you do in like Soul Blight with Grave Sites and things like that. So and that only affects summonable now. So the death healing, ironically, you actually feel less bring back stuff Horde than Chaos with summoning, or with other armies that heal better. Like Order tend to rally and heal better than Death do. So
yeah. And there's a much more of a prevalence of rally on a 4+ than there ever has been.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, so many factions have that now, and they got that option, and we don't. So not bad, but though.
They're in a better spot than they were, which is really, really solid.
Yeah, they're still good. I mean, the problem now you've got is that with the drop to the reach on the Stalkers, you're forced to take the Galatian veteran formation to put Stalkers in, which then gives you the reach. So if you wanted to run 1 unit, you don't get that benefit. You need 2 units in there. You've lost Expert Conquerors, which was amazing on Mortec Guard. You have survivable infantry, So fighting in the hero phase is a good thing. So like Mortek Guard, Bodyguard with a hero like your Bone Shaper with a Harvester as a blob will be amazing, because you've got like a blob of Mortek with the guy who heals them with a Harvester that brings them back. You fight them, and they like, you know, in the hero phase you go, I'll do my heroic action, they'll fight in the hero, my hero will fight, they'll fight, everyone fights. It's great. We love it.
It'll feel less slow, I think, because you won't be locked in combat as much. You know, if someone comes to you, they might get to blend them in a couple of turns. It's going to feel a bit like when they just came out, I think, when they were a real like infantry force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, and you don't tend to have shooting anyway, so like the whole thing, oh, you can't shoot the heroes, is like I couldn't anyway, because I played Death. So I mean, yeah, you can now tell me that I've got a catapult, but that's it. I think the special ammunition shot is not a shooting attack.
It isn't.
It's correct. Instead of shooting, so it gets past that anyway. So you just pick a hero and like roll 2 dice, roll over its wounds instead, or whatever it is, with the modifier depending on how wounded it is. So yeah, good. Soulblight, they're quite good right now. I think they'll be decent in the new handbook. Lots of infantry, Graveguard, stuff like that. Great, you know, you've got lots of access to lots of good foot heroes. Unfortunately, a lot of them are unique, you know, that you see, like, you know, you see
all mounted
Kado, all like mounted White King, you know. You might start seeing more like generic vampire lords on foot.
When Mortisan Soul Mason is mounted, he is, isn't he, because of his wrong trousers.
Is it a mount? I guess it is, yeah. So fuck's sake. I didn't even think about that, because you don't even see it as a mount, because it's basically a chair with legs.
Kind of funny, isn't it?
That just depresses me. They did put an FAQ where they said that some stuff's got companions. So
is that like the fish on people's
so like on like Idenef, they've all got like a companion fish, which attacks as a mount to stop people using.
Maybe he's got a companion chair.
Yeah, but it is a mount. Yeah, it is a mount. So yeah, he hasn't got an exception because he's not a companion. It's a mount. He's mounted. So yeah, it will be Bone Shapers then. So you will be taking Bone Shapers. So yeah, you're not really gonna have many Galatian champions.
It's again,
and you can't ally anyone.
You might
take the Soul Reaper now at 100 points because he's cheaper. But Bone Shaper's only 10 points more. Much better.
Yeah, Bone Shaper.
Yeah, I think under the, it depends on
good
how
items as well and stuff like that. You know, you're at least going to get some utility for the rest of the army as a result of taking these little dudes.
Well, you've got all these like new artifacts and these Galatian champion enhancements and all this stuff now. It's like another layer. It's like another thing. More combos. I'm sure there'll be some broken stuff because it's just compounding that combination issue.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Soulblight stuff. I mean,
I think it's kind of stayed
10 points, 20 points here, there.
Yeah,
Manfred up 20 is quite big.
Yeah.
Don't really see a lot. Blood Knights, I don't think changed. They went up 5. No. Okay.
Yeah, so. I think they're pretty just kind of fairly untouched, and I think their power level will be fairly untouched as well. They'll be where they were. Still strong, still versatile, still have to be played well.
We'll skip Gloomspite because reasons. Ogres, now these are obviously quite new, but they've had some significant adjustments. Iron Blasters have gone up 30.
Yeah, they're good.
They're 200 points now. Maybe a little bit steep, but they are great. They're
the only thing that does that in the army, right? They're unique within the army.
I think not being able to shoot heroes off now, though, is a big deal. Because you can't put them in the formation to ignore it because they're artillery, not a unit.
Yeah.
So they are great, but it does
turn them into monsters, though, right? Or is it something else?
That's a spell.
Spell.
But it doesn't really. They're good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Iron Blasters are bad, but like you're not going to spam 4 anymore.
No.
Which is a good thing. I only paid 2.
Yeah.
They're still going to be in the list because you need it. you know, the trophy rack combination, which I didn't run but is so good. Getting, you know, +1 to hit against monsters and heroes. Obviously that diminishes a little bit because heroes might be a champion, but there's still going to be lots of heroes that aren't champions. Mounted heroes, unique heroes, monstrous heroes, they're not champions. Plus there's something to be said for just scatter shot in a unit. It just obliterates it.
I think getting rid of screens is going to be like, if you can't shoot at stuff and you need to get to it and kill it, you know, some shooting and then some impacts to back it up, which the army does really well.
It's really good. I mean, if you want my opinion on Age of Sigmar meta, mortal wounds to avoid save stacking, great. Yeah. So basically, any army that's got mortal wounds in swaves, great. So they do. So great. You know, survivable infantry or capture power, great. And ways to do splash damage. So things that could do mortal wound splash damage is great, or bypass the restrictions on not being able to shoot stuff. So I think you'll see stuff like Stormcast splat lists, where you basically just have lots of AoE mortal wounds, which don't care about targeting anything. You know, I actually think a Thunder Tusk Ogre list is great.
They've got a bit more utility than people think.
Yeah, because you've just got that AoE. You've got that shooting mortal wounds, but you've also got that. I've got 4 blood vultures, 4 mortal wounds on that hero. 4 mortal wounds on that hero. 4 mortal wounds on that hero.
It doesn't target in the normal way.
Doesn't target. You just pick and roll, and it's really useful when you've got stuff like a couple wounds and you just like 2+ to your wound. Like how many? I think in the tournament I played against, I played the Mirror. My blood vulture killed an Iron Blaster, a Butcher, and a I think it was like something else. I think maybe even Stonehorn, but it was like just
range as well. It's just so
limited. Yeah, don't do that. So it's just great. But points adjustments, so Noblaw's up 20, Iron Blast's up 30, everything else is just a 5-point adjustment, so they kind of left everything as it is. Mornfang down 5. Actually, Mornfang, great.
Really good anyway.
Really good. And their battle lines, you've got to take 3 of them normally. So the fact they've dropped 5, it kind of takes it off the Iron Blast attacks.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Slaughtermaster up 5, meh. Don't really know. Stonehorn up 5.
Tyrant unchanged and looking very tasty in this edition.
Yeah, they've got some really good heroes. Like the Firebelly is great because he's got the AoE spell for -1 to hit.
Icebrow Hunter's good as well, isn't
Hunters are good. Even the Blood
points.
Pelt Hunter's good.
Yeah.
You know, the Butcher, the Slaughtermaster, they're all good. They've got good spells, good utility. I actually think playing an ogre list with like ogres in it, like gluttons or like shooting, is strong. Ogres are
so
great.
much in if you don't have the monsters as well. Like the moment you take out like a few 300 something 400-point chunks, your army gets way bigger.
You only need 1 Frostlord on a Stonehorn.
Yeah, 2 of them up to the max.
Or you could just spam tyrants or whatever. I think you only need 2 Iron Blasters. Yeah, I agree, Russ, that if they FAQ the Noblars, then yeah. I mean they seem great, but I just don't like them. I don't want them. So War Clans.
Narrow set of scrolls, which is I think relevant for a couple of reasons with this edition.
Nice drops on Gut Rippers down 10, so they're 150 now. Killbows down 10. Ardboys are down 5. Brutes are down 10. They're actually going Brutes and Mega Busters on foot are going to be great in this edition. I think to play Iron Jaws, and maybe you'll speak on this more competitively, you might need to move away from more Crushers and Rogue Idols.
I think the book's in a really, really difficult point currently due to the prevalence. So like you're not the big boy as far as damage is concerned anymore. And there's no one thing it does apart from possibly movement that there aren't like 3 other armies that are better than you at. So I think they're possibly going to struggle. They've got really good, like the foot heroes are good. Like a Mega Boss is really good, but wards is just isn't something in the army. So
but you've got the artifact now for a 5-up if you want it, and then you've got you can take your war chanters as well. They're going to be Glacian champions, so they can't
Yeah.
be shot at. So you can maintain that.
You're gonna have other
use-
people in there with some utility. You might actually see the other clans getting used for the first time ever.
Yeah.
Which, you know, that's kind of nice because you only ever saw Iron Suns or Bloodtooths. So it would be cool to see the others. But
there is only one other. The others, but there is
the others.
There's three.
Yes, it's the three CPs for one.
No, it's the
on
free war
Brutes and
chanter.
Boys.
It's the war chanter does 3 buffs with one.
That's it. Yeah.
I can't remember what they're called, but something to do with axes.
Blood axes.
Choppies. Choppiness chops.
Yeah.
I think you might be right with blood axe actually. Then, you know, you've got like points on like the Belcher banner's gone down, Swamp Caller Potgrot's gone down. He's had his rules changed, so he could do a spell and his ability. Cruel Boys, I think, now be pretty good.
Do you think they should like part of their power was the ability to take out key things with their shooting, being heroes? Do you think they do they care now that that's much less doable, or
no, because you don't have the range to snipe heroes at the back that are buffing.
Okay.
They will always shoot the units or the things that kill you, and ignore the heroes because you can't get close enough to get them
So
anyway.
you just blast off the stuff that's the biggest threat.
And the kill bow shoots monsters generally, and they're not champions. So, but now with the change to Grinning Blades that you can not be seen, you can actually. You don't care about their range being better than your range, because if you played against a shooting army that had better range, they just shoot you off before you got in range. But now they can't shoot you unless they're within 12, and you've got things like Covered in Mud and things like that. The Swamp Crawler was always like, oh, I need to use my +1 bonus, but then I can't cast. So I need to take like Gobsprak or an Arcane Tome to get a cast at Nasty Hex, but it's 12-inch range. Then I'm going to get shot off, and they're already weak. But now they can't get shot off because they're a Glacian champion, and they could be near the Gut Rippers. Gut Rippers were 180, they're now 150. You now unlock Hobgrot Slitter's battle line if you take Gut Rippers, so you can reduce your battle line tax. There's a lot of points drops in there, which are nice.
Yeah.
I think
Gobsprak went down tons, didn't he? I'm not
sure. And like, you know, well, Gobsprak's the same, but Gordrak went down 40, but Gobsprak's still really good. But you were like, oh, I don't really want to take him because he's quite fragile and all this stuff. But you needed some magic because your shamans were always
doing that one
dishing out their ability. Your Sludge Raker beast's great, and then so I think I don't say they're like really amazing, but they can be playable now. I think before they were like a heart choice where you were like struggling against the fat middle, whereas now I think you're probably around the comfortable in the fat middle, a bit like I'm comfortable in my fat middle.
They've got kind of their Galatian champions are kind of but support pieces rather than like key MVPs, aren't they? Which is you know, they're not super resilient, or they're not going to be going in there and bashing other people or anything.
Yeah, but that's kind of what you want, because you want stuff that's not good. You want the unit to be the screen or the toughness, and you want them to just survive, and you want them to be on objectives.
I think the number of wounds that these heroes are going to have is going to be relevant and doubly relevant in the armies that can't get wounds on them. You know, like if you play against someone that can drop an AoE bomb and then has got 3 ways to target something that might do a mortal, like, and your heroes are 4 or 5 wounds.
Well, that's the problem with Seraphon. Like, all their foot heroes they take are like priests with 4 wounds. It's like
yeah, 4's tiny, isn't it? Absolutely tiny.
Sons of Behemat, whatever.
It's not their edition.
Right.
What's happening?
I played a team event with a new book, and I've got to say, and this is my opinion, and people out there might like Sons of Behemat. I very rarely say this about a faction. It was dull as dishwater. It didn't feel like I was using giants because it didn't do enough damage. They didn't feel like the opponent was struggling to kill them because their capture power was just going to win, and they had to overcommit.
Damage is just so high these days.
So they don't do a lot of damage. They don't survive as well, and they don't really kill stuff when they charge it. And I just got to a point where I was like, this isn't a fun army. Now my list was Kragnos, King Brod, a Gatebreaker, and like a mini, which isn't optimal. I don't think Kragnos goes in the army very well at all. but you can take minis and spam them, but I honestly think the army's just a bit crap compared to the old book.
It's swung a lot, hasn't it?
Well, you've swung away from a GHB where everything was great for them to one that wasn't great, and then their damage output's been hampered because they reduced the number of attacks and increased the damage, but in addition where you can make modifiers, you need more attacks to round out the averages to chip away, because being damage 4 is fine, but if they make their 2-up armor save, it doesn't do anything. But if they only got to make 2 of those, but if they got to make 4 of those saves, that's better. So I'd rather than roll more saves and do less damage when it goes through. Anything that reduces your damage as well. There's quite a lot in the game.
Yeah.
Like Nighthorn are a nightmare. You just get absolutely wrecked by Nighthorn.
Be insulting, wouldn't it? I think Russ Charles is right. More tribes is doing Gargants, but more interesting.
Yeah, and like more tribes.
You want that destruction vibe? Yeah, I think Augurs are the best of, well-rounded, solidly optioned, fun plays in all phases if you want destruction currently.
And it's a bit like with Death, really. You end up going, oh, this is a better, like Soul Blight is kind of your more rounded ones, and
yes,
then
agreed.
You just go, well, the others are kind of like not as good, and then Nighthorn are good now, but they play in a way that I don't really like. So,
it's a fiddly model and it's a fiddly game, which is a bit of a shame, really.
Yeah, some adjustments on things. The Kron Spire is still there, unfortunately. So, my thoughts on that. So, anyway, that's the battle scroll. So quite a lot of point adjustments. Obviously, I think really we talked about it on the last battle scroll. How much it matters? Probably not a lot.
No, it was difficult. We're still waiting on books, right? Not like they owe us books. Like, books have been coming out alarmingly fast, but there's still some books that haven't been revitalized.
There's a few, not that many, really, in the grand scheme of things. They've been firing them out like nobody's business. Like, I've got on my shelves, I've got all my current ones. When they get replaced, I just bin them now. I used to keep them, but they're too quick. I just recycle them. So, I've only got a few white spines left, so they're mostly red. They're getting there. I feel like, and it's a different discussion really. I feel like I would rather that they were slower to release and the edition lasted longer, but it was more well considered in terms of the design philosophy from start to finish was the same, and rather than the edition comes out, rush to update, and then you're like, next edition, rush. And it's
I think 12 months is pretty fine in my opinion, rather than 6, if that was a thing. You could release a campaign pack in that was small but significant somehow. That was maybe competitive play friendly with the scenarios or something. I'd be down with that. Here's 3 scenarios. Run them in events or something.
I'd just like to see almost like expansion books rather than complete rewrites.
Careful, we'll get more in the spells.
So, like, if there was like do you know, like, because normally when you get a new book, you get like a lot of reprint of the same stuff, and then you get maybe 1 or 2 extra units or a hero.
Yeah.
And then the new edition extra rule things tidied up. Sometimes I just think like,
they did it with Storm and Magic.
I'd rather the
books. They dropped a thing, and then like a bunch of little heroes came out or something.
Yeah, I just think it was a bit like with like Broken Realms, right? You had a book come out, it brought like the Nurgle heroes, like the Bile Piper and stuff like that. It kind of amended them, and it kind of, or like they adjusted the IDNF stuff without redoing the book. I don't know. I kind of feel like I'm hesitant to say it, but I'd rather the edition was designed with a bit more thought, so they weren't
solid base,
needed
not like
to
flavor of the month.
Yeah, and I just feel like you could almost the books when they come out, you could have almost written those rules for the edition as an FAQ or PDF, like battle tactics and grand strategies for every faction when they released the edition.
Yeah.
Because, or you just don't have generic ones in every army book, and you just have a set that everyone picks from, and you make it a bit more rounded.
Well, if they're not in the book, then you could have a generic selection, but you could also be like, right, it's Season of War campaign, summer 2023.
Yeah.
We've released 3 battle tactics for every race.
Yeah.
They focus on monsters, and that happens for 3 months. And if it wasn't a good idea, then it's over. And it didn't, completely. It didn't pull the carpet out at that point.
Yeah, I just I almost feel like because of the time it takes you to paint an army and get an army to speed and get your head around the addition and stuff, by the time you've done that, it's changing again.
You got like
there's been 3 new books come out, and it's
I mean, if you look at
unless you're playing 3 times a week,
customers, if you look at the average age of customers, which is pretty high actually for toys. Peeps have got lives, peeps have got families, peeps have got commitments, peeps have got finances. You have to build them, you have to paint them. You might like to paint them, fairly slowly. Take your time over it.
Not anymore.
Absolutely. Well, that's out the window, isn't it? I don't know. I've been slowing down my painting recently a lot, but that's because I've been painting things that haven't been for armies. So, yeah.
Well, yeah. So,
GHBB.
Yeah. So let's just do a quick. We're not going to go through the detail, but let's just give you the bridge notes
for heroes. Let's go.
Yeah. Basically.
I think you could take 5 things from this book and we could talk about there, and that would be 90% of the information that people needed just regarding the scenarios.
Yeah, so like there's some of the scenarios are carried over. There's some new ones, whatever. I haven't read them, don't care. Read it when I get to play it. So basically the key bit really is Galatian champions. So heroes, wounds less than 10, don't have a mount and not unique, are a champion. They can't be shot at with missile weapons while they're within 1 inch of any battle line units. Now, that's 2 things. You need battle line units which are going to want to be near the hero and can't be killed very easily, because if you've got like 2 Mournfang, for example, they're going to be like running around. So if your battle line's like 3 units of Sabertooths, or you need something like 10 Blight Kings or 20 something, or
that you don't care about leaving at the back of the board if that's where the hero is, or can go with the hero if the hero's going somewhere
else. And the hero's not mounted, so it's going to be slow in buddy quotes. There are some things that aren't slow that whatever.
Yeah, soul scryers or whatever.
Well, they're slow, but they can teleport, but only on the first turn. But that's anyway. So then you've got this desperate action. So they got rid of Proving Ground, which I love because I hated that. So it was another thing to think about, which could affect the mission in a big way. I used it to great effect by stopping people retaking stuff that I wanted to walk off because I didn't have any units nearby that were things. So I was like, oh, I'll make that a Proving Ground. You can't. I've already got it. You can't get it off me, so it's safe. I can run off and do something else. Yeah. Not sure that's how it's meant to be used, but there you go. So if you're taking the second round at the start of your hero phase, I can pick a champion to do 2 different heroic actions instead of 1. So it's okay, but you've actually you're going second. They know that. Is it going to be relevant? I think the idea is then it goes. You've got new heroic actions for champions only. So one is that if you take a champion within 3 inches of an enemy unit, you can fight. If you've not already fought in that phase, it's a hero phase fight. You can't fight again in that phase, and the strike last effect applies to the hero until the end of the turn. So when you get to the combat phase, you strike last. But there are ways around that.
There are.
Because you could have something that gives you strike first, or
strike immediately after we fought, or
like smashing and bashing and things like that.
Yeah,
so, then you've got the lead by example. You can pick a champion that has a swarm bodyguard, which is another thing. If that has just carried out the strike at the opening action. If the bodyguard unit is wholly within 6 of the champion and within 3 of an enemy unit, the swarm bodyguard can fight if it's not already fought. So basically, it's like use 2 heroic actions. I fight, the unit fights, but I've got to be going second to get 2 heroic actions, and that means they have to be in combat with you after they've had a turn.
Yeah, I guess so.
and in range of 3 inches of your hero, and this and that, and then you've got to use both your heroic actions, and then so it's like, is it that good? And you've got to be a sworn bodyguard, and you've got, it's like, is it ever going to come up? Is that combo ever going to happen? Don't know.
Time will tell on that one.
Then you've got a spell, which is, cast on a 6, a range of 12, pick an objective. Then roll a dice for each unit within 6 of the objective. On a 4+, they take D6 mortal wounds. Which is like,
wow. Are you serious?
Yeah. I mean, if you've got an army that heals or doesn't care or has got a ward, and you just think, I'll blow up the objective I'm stood next to because I don't care. Like Nurgle, you just stand on it and go, I'll blow up. Fine.
Yeah.
Like, whatever.
I healed back to full before I did this anyway. Let's go. And I got a ward.
Yeah, and I got a ward save, and you don't. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
You got a command ability. Start the combat phase. And it's basically, you can't make pile-ins, but you get +1 to attack. Can't be a monster. Can't be a hero. So again, like infantry with reach, that's quite good on. But again, it's start of the combat phase. So you might do something like they charge your, I don't know, Namati Reavers, and you go, well, actually, I'm going to make them get +1 attack. And they can't then all out defense. So, but maybe they strike first because it's high tide, or you've got a way to strike first, or you don't care, or whatever. It's a bit weird because the time's not when you attack; it's at the start of the combat phase. You've almost got to telegraph it.
Yeah.
So you could maybe mess around with your opponent's activation process, because you might want to activate somewhere else. You go, well, I'm going to do this thing here, and they're like, oh, I should go there first before they swing because you're going to activate them next. So you could kind of use that as a bit of a neg. Yeah,
seems like the type of thing that could be easily forgotten, or like someone could say what they're going to do before it should have been said or something.
Yeah, I think most people would just let you do it because these timing things are a bit weird. Then you've got the battalion, so you've got the command, which is a Galatian champion, and then a unit of infantry, and it says that when you pick the champion to fight, if the bodyguard is wholly within 6 and not yet fought, they can fight basically afterwards in the order of your choice. So
it's a rule that's elsewhere in the game already.
Yeah,
kind of, isn't
it's
it?
in the combat phase, so it doesn't allow you to do the heroic activation. It's kind of like your normal activation that you get. You know.
It's just you just get in, you're just bunching together a bit, aren't you?
Yeah. Does the swarm bodyguard actually give you anything other than this stuff? Is it just these rules?
I think it's just these rules. You don't get a save or anything because the name, I searched for this to try to see if that was a thing, but I couldn't.
Yeah, I don't know. So, but a lot of these rules, they just seem like, are you ever going to see that? Probably not.
No, I'm still held up on like that spell.
Yeah,
and that's significant.
You'll see the next one, sharpshooters. Attacks made with missile weapons by units in the battalion are not prevented from targeting champions they would want of a battle line unit. So, armies that have got access to shooting units that are infantry, you will probably take this. So, Reavers, Sentinels, probably like Blood Sisters or whatever they are, Bliss Barbs. Obviously, it increases your drops. So if you're playing an army like Luminef, Deepkin, you probably want low drop.
4. But
it's like, it's still worthwhile. You've got to have 3 units as well. It's not 2 to 3; it's 3 units. So it's actually quite hard. Now it's worthwhile pointing out that you don't need to have all 3 of them with shooting weapons. They just have to be infantry.
Yeah.
So there's no reason why you can't put, like, I don't know,
Bliss Barbs, Demonettes,
yeah, like 2 units of Painbringers and 1 unit of Bliss Barbs. Whatever, because you don't get a benefit the other 2 units, but you still unlock the formation. So.
Yes, exactly, and it's a powerful ability. Like even it is a powerful ability.
So you might see something like long strikes.
Yeah, you're still
and
gonna you're
two
still gonna
units of
be
something.
you're still gonna be lookout third, aren't you? There's like a double hit if you are
Yeah, but
trying to.
there's so many ways to get +1 to hit. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it's. I mean, all out attack. Oh, done. Or
yeah.
I do mortals on 6s to hit, or I don't actually care, or 5s to hit, and I don't actually care. You don't care about the hit roll in that case. Like Namati Reeve is +1 to hit if you're within 9. So, if the turtles are in range, +1 to hit. There's lots of ways. Baron, I think 1-drop's always the king, because in a game where it's about winning missions, choosing who goes first or second, looking at your opponent's army on the side, or is just better than everything else in the game. Galatian Veterans. So this is just literally allows you to fight with the reach 2 to 4 units, but again it increases your drops. You don't just get it.
Some armies are really happy about this staying there, right? Like,
well, if you'd just gone out and painted like 24 stalkers, you'd be a bit annoyed if it went away, right? So
yeah. I'm surprised it's there. I just kind of assumed it would
probably because that. But then what happens with the next handbook comes out? Is it gone then?
Don't know what the
Because
next
that's a
handbook
new season. This is new season.
Age of
What is it? This is
Galatian
22 to 23.
Sharpshooters.
Season 2 is the new one. I don't know. The next year, but season 1 again, and then it's got a whole new set of rules. So
let's find out.
It's 6 months, and then it's changing again. Is it? Don't know. Is it then going to be every 6 months? They're going to make it 3 months. Fuck it, every week. Let's have a coffee machine conversation.
Artifacts next.
Darktron said, "Do you want to go second now?" I don't think it really matters in this. I think the Proving Ground was a much stronger ability going second than this is.
Yeah.
Going second here is like if they're within range and in your go, so they're going to go first anyway, then they're going to know that you've got that ability, that combo. All they've got to do is not stand within 3 inches of the hero and they can't do the combo. Yeah, you get 2 heroic actions, but if you kill the hero, they can't do it anyway, so who cares? Like, yeah, whatever. So
yeah, just look at the table. I don't think it affects the decision. You're still going to make the same decision that you would whether it existed or not.
Yeah, it's about the mission. It's about the state of the game, not about that little combo or that little thing that might come into effect. Now you get artifacts. So there's like generic artifacts. Again, these are champions only.
Yeah, they're quite good.
Really good.
You can get impact hits according to your charge roll on a 4+, which is pretty ogre-y. You can't stack that with anyone else that has it, just to note. So there's no like ridiculous impact hit tyrant
like
running
ogre
around
tyrant bomb list or something with like
double
rolls with Kragnos for a 3d6 charge.
Yeah. I think everyone's damage for that type of stuff does take place in the charge phase, doesn't it? There's no one who does it at the beginning of the combat phase or anything, so there's no way to get around that. Night Flare Cloak, you can set him up in ambush as a reserve unit, and they can come on in the normal way, 9 inches away from people. Within 1 inches of a friendly battle line unit and more than 9 from all enemy units. That's kind of interesting. Grith Feather Charm, just to make you think that it's not a kick in the teeth to not have a ward. I think this is a bit of a trick, actually, but we'll cover that in a bit, I guess. But yeah, you can give someone a ward of 5+, which is obviously strong.
I think the I might still on the Sons of Behemoth. Yeah, I can't show you the handbook, Andrew. Sorry, so I'll change it so you don't see it. Okay, because I don't have a physical copy and I've only got a PDF. I'm not allowed to share, so I'm just talking through it. It's just up there. Whatever, it doesn't matter. We'll put it on that if it makes you happier. So anyway, I think the Night Flare Cloak, it says join deployment instead of setting up the bear on the battlefield. So that one, what's quite good about that is because you might have a unit that wants to be up the field, like 10 Blood Knights or something, being able to put your hero like up the table might be really useful. I mean, like you think about Nurgle, if you bridge the Plague Bearers, then you can put your Scrivener like next to them or something. Do you know what I mean? Like,
there's some really powerful short range spells out there, and by short I mean like still more than 9 inches. So you could land and then, I mean, Nurgle's a good example. You could do Favored Poxes, make someone -1 to hit, to wound, and to save, or something like that in your next turn, or something like that. So it's yeah, it's pretty strong. And anyone who's got a natural debuff just by existing, or who buffs the unit itself is obviously going to be a really good call.
Yeah, like anyone who's got like just an AoE, like you have to be a champion. So I don't know how much is there that you can do it with.
Some books will benefit from it more than others, but in some it'll
Referral
be really...
Master might be good. In IDNF, you can like use a Soul Scryer to bring unit and Marty Thralls on, and then he could basically go over there and then be like, well, they can have the buff now.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a fringe case. I don't know if you see it often.
There's going to be some, I'm sure some people come up with some ideas.
I think whether or not these artifacts see play because you've got other artifacts to pick from and the generic Arcane 2 Master of Magic combo, I mean, are you going to see it? Like,
yeah, I'm surprised Master of Magic stayed in.
Surprised Arcane Tome didn't get changed.
Yeah.
So most people you speak to, it's that's the combo, and that's what you take. And take anything else, and look at anything else. So this next bit's interesting. So you got unique enhancements. So you always take one. Each time you take an aspect of the champion enhancement, you can pick one from the table. So you get these. So like a mount trait, but for a champion, but not a mount trait. So they're like, you do get one of these, and you might get more. So one of them's a teleport. So there you go, just teleport.
Pretty strong, isn't
Once
it?
per battle, you can remove it, set up on the battlefield 1/9 away from all enemy units.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Pretty strong. Wouldn't mind that with a teleporting tyrant or something. I don't know.
No, absolutely not. Anyone with a charge bonus.
If you've got Kragnos, 3d6 charge, do his mortal wounds.
Yeah, boy.
Boom.
Absolutely.
Then you've got this one, which is just great. So you could use this on like a war chanter or something. I mean, like it says, once per battle before you allocate a wound or mortal wound to a champion, and that would cause it to be slain. Roll a dice on a 3+. You're not slain. You heal up to D3 wounds, and you're not dead.
Great.
Amazing.
Really good.
It's just like, I will survive this turn.
Yep.
And then you've got the next one, which is you count as 10 models for contesting objective unless there's another champion within range.
Pretty cool.
Great as well. Particularly if you've got a way to kill their champions. So then you've got a free command issue: rally, all out attack, all out defense, or redeploy. A bit like the Iron Jaws ability.
Yeah.
Great as well.
Nice. Yeah.
It does say
Nice that they're all worth taking.
Yeah.
You know, none of them's awful.
Can't do Unleash Hell, unfortunately, but you know that would be pretty strong.
Bit grim, wouldn't it?
That'd be very grim in a Reaver list. So, I don't know. I wonder how that interacts with the. Is it Nautilus? No, Bromdar Enclave, where you can do that multiple redeploys with one command point anyway. Do you get it like? Does it like compound? Do you get like 9 redeploys?
The
Each
entire
one,
army just
you get another
the entire
2.
army just shuffles
And
D6
then-
inches.
Yeah, let me just. Oh. I mean, it doesn't matter. It would be shit, but it's just funny.
I'll
this-
read out the new grand strategy as well.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. While I look at
Stake
this.
claim. When the battle ends, you complete this if 3 or more Galatian champions are wholly within enemy territory. That's pretty ballsy. Survivor's Instinct. When the battle ends, if the model you pick to be your general is a Galatian champion and the model is contesting an objective wholly outside your territory, I get you, like, you know, that might not be a thing. As in, there might not be a an objective wholly outside your territory. The day is ours. When the battle ends, you complete this grand strategy. If there are more friendly Galatian champions from your starting army than Galatian champions from your opponent's starting army on the battlefield. Bit more doable if you've taken a list that is heavy in them, because, you know, you could just literally turn up and be like, I have to lose, you know,
Yeah.
no more than 3 of these, and I've got that. So the day is ours is an absolute winner there for the right type of list. The others, I think, are a little bit tricky.
Yeah. Just that thing I was talking about is Dom Hain. So it says if you take the second round, when a Dom Hain hero issues redeploy to a friendly Dom Hain Namati unit, you can pick 3 units. So, I mean,
9.
you're not going to have 9 units of Namati, and
You might
but
get like 6.
it would be quite funny because you get to do it 3 times, and each time you do it, you get to do 3 units. So you could do 9 units redeploy, but all of them have to be Namati. and you have to be going second, and you have to be playing Dom Hain. But it's funny, but it wouldn't. So interesting. Battle tactics. So you still got the same ones. You got like gaining momentum, eye for an eye, desecrate their lands. This one's mine. They're all current, and they're all the ones generally people use, apart from against the odds, which was never against the odds, and isn't there anymore. So now you've got like pick a champion or a sworn bodyguard. You complete if that unit's destroyed by a friendly champion or sworn bodyguard. So it's a bit like the veteran one.
Yep.
Then at least 2 objects you control in enemy territory and are contested by a champion. Sure. You could do that early if you've taken the teleport and the artifact on 2 different guys. So you could teleport one and then you could do the thing on the other. So you could just go toe on both objectives, but obviously you probably give it away your champions. So you got your United Offense, pick an objective by your opponent. If you control that objective and 2 or more friendly champions are contesting an objective at the end of the turn, that might be doable. Just have 2 champions stand on something. You're probably going to have that objective in that case.
Yeah.
You could do that. It has to be controlled by your opponent. So you can't just do it on your home objective on turn 1 and go, yeah, it's done. Cunning maneuver, pick a champion on the battlefield more than 3 from enemy units. You complete this battle tactic. In the turn that champion more than 3 from all enemy units and contested objectives. Whatever. Yeah. So
yeah, fairly doable.
Yeah. I mean, you could just be automatically doing that without moving. I mean, that's just done on the first turn, isn't it? Pick a champion on the battlefield that's more than 3 from enemy units. You complete this tactic if the end of the turn that champion is more than 3 from enemy units, which you still are, and is contested an objective you control wholly outside your territory. So yeah, you could do it, but it has to be outside your territory.
Yeah, you could in certain scenarios for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, particularly the new scenarios, I don't think reaching objectives is going to be hard. Like, you're close to the objectives. Your opponent's ones in a lot of these, it feels like to me.
Yeah. And then we've got spells and we've got scenarios, but we're not going to go through this. So they're the main things, right? So for the bridge notes, I think really the key question before we get into tiering or talk about things is, do you think you need Galatian champions to be competitive? Discuss.
Depends on army power level. You know, the same thing that is always the same thing is going to be armies that are inherently strong, have mortal wounds at range, or have really good battle line, or have natural resilience, are going to be good anyway. I do think some of those will benefit from it particularly. Like, they will find it very, like, I think Nurgle looks pretty good now, right?
Yeah. And you'll get an army that's strong and has access to champions you take anyway, and that compounds that to be
exactly
that. So I would say
healing wards, they've just gone up so much in value.
Infantry with effective long-range shooting that you can put in the formation. Keyword infantry.
Yep.
Survivable combat infantry that benefits from having a non-unique foot wound hero next to it, a la Stormcast, Chaos Chosen, Blight Kings, Fire Slayers,
elite
Half-Guard.
Infantry. It's elite infantry, basically, isn't it?
Battle line.
Elite melee
be better line. If you, because that you need to be battle line to benefit. So it needs to be battle line. So, all right, brutes, a lot of stuff. Yes, I think because you've got the powerful combinations now of getting that trait thing, whatever it is, and I think that is gonna give you some options with lists. I think armies like Disciples of Zinch will be strong. Nighthaunt will probably be strong. They lose bounty hunters, but I don't think they cared about that.
They don't even need the damage.
They probably got affected more by that because most people had.
Yes. Good point.
And now things like your Cruciator, do you even need to take your Spirit Host to protect him anymore? I mean, you get a double bubble. You can have a Cruciator with Spirit Host and it's near a thing. You're never killing it.
I don't think there's any reason to.
And you give him a 5-up ward. Why not?
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, just because your heroes are fairly survivable, I don't think that means you back off.
And count as 10 on objectives.
Yeah, you just double down. You add the 5-up ward to someone who's got a shrug anyway, or stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think Baron, you touched on a good point there. You see, easy army but battle tactics are key now. I think that's always been the case because games are won or lost by surviving, standing on circles, and getting a battle tactic every turn. So as long as you can do that, you're fine. You know, you're gravy. So
I do think there's kind of a generic measurable of if your army includes heroes who are like 8 or 9 wounds, you are probably in a good spot because they tend to move faster. They tend to do a bit more. They've obviously got more wounds. They're more likely to have a ward. There's, I mean, Tyrants are a really good example of stuff like that. The 7 wound Nurgle heroes. Like there's a few things.
It's
that
the 8 to 9 wound mark that's survivable.
It's a huge difference. And if they heal,
or have a ward, or have a good armor save, ward. You know.
Some of them have got like 8-9 inch move as well in some situations. I mean, Slanesh is actually doing really well here, I think. And they don't come with a ward, but they're going to get a ward.
The only issue with Slanesh is that you tend to take unique heroes like Sigvold. You know, all the stuff you take is unique generally, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, I know you could take like an Order Pain or a Shard Speaker, but do you see them on the table very often?
Well, they're a lot cheaper now, and I think because the rest of the army got so cheap, you don't care if those are still a bit overpointed.
And a Lord of Pain with a bodyguard of like Myrmidon Painbringers is going to
which costs like 110
points. Which they'll come down in points, so you're just like, well, great.
Yeah. Yeah, of course I'll help those guys out.
So, yeah, I think. I don't know how I feel about the handbook. I've not played any games under it yet. Disclaimer, but I think I'm glad the Proving Ground's gone. I'm glad that the stupid like reach stuff and bounty hunters thing's gone. The 5-point thing's gone. I think that there's a lot of rules in this with like these champions and these heroic actions and these bodyguards, but I don't think they come up very often.
I think we got 3 months of people forgetting a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very similar to the last handbook, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, but I think that it's less impactful. Like, it doesn't just sweet blanket change all the reach. It doesn't sweet blanket give you this, you can't capture this, you need this to capture that. Yeah, you get a hero, you can't shoot the hero, but a lot of armies don't. A lot of armies I played didn't have shooting anyway, and then you've got a way to unlock that if you need it, if you've got good good infantry shooting.
A lot of games for good players with well-selected armies are going to involve people getting a lot of their battle tactics. Like if you've got a book that's got like 1 good one or 2 good ones, like, and you've selected a good list, I think you're going to be in a. Particularly with scenarios, it's probably worth touching on. Like, I think this set of scenarios is perhaps the most in-your-face set that we've seen. The new ones that have been added. You know, there's one of them that's just like this tiny little block. You could really be in your opponent's face with a game plan and some stuff to do in sequence and a few well-selected heroes, and you could put the pressure on from turn 1 so easily, I think, with the right type of list. And there's a lot of high quality, as you touched on with Mortal Wounds. There's the highest prevalence of Mortal Wounds spread across battle tanks there's ever been. So maybe games will get faster, but a lot of stuff's gone down in points. So it's very hard to tell.
Yeah, I think just the nature of like the Proving Ground decision will speed things up. A lot of people I played just didn't bother with it. They were like, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so infantry is a unit with 4 or less wounds, not a leader, artillery, behemoth, and does not have a mount. So for those bodyguards and stuff. So right, so let's have a go at tiering.
Okay.
We're not. I'm not putting them in. We are not going to do Gloomspite or Beasts because it's pointless.
They got books on the horizon.
Yeah.
Close.
So we're not going to do those. So if you like Gloomspite and you like Beasts, sorry, they're going right. You know, you could probably do like where they are right now. Beasts are probably A, B, and Gloomspite are D, but pointless.
Yeah.
So what army then, at the 24 factions, do you think in this handbook is going to be S tier?
S tier rather than the one that's gone up the most tiers.
So if you think like out of all the factions, with their book, all the rules, FAQs, the new points, this handbook, what army or armies do you think are going to be the best in the game? So let's just say we're going to bell curve it rather than because obviously otherwise everything would be in probably A and B. So there's 24, so we go down to 22.
This is in the hands of good general.
We're assuming good player, good knowledge, competent player. I wouldn't say like a top player. I'm not talking like Jack Armstrong or Tom Maudsley. I mean, like your solid, average player that knows the rules, goes to tournaments, isn't a noob, makes generally good decisions 80% of the time, 90% of the time. So,
like, Lumineth tick a lot of the lists for things that should be good under it, right?
Yeah. So I would say that Lumineth are very strong, but do you think they're S tier?
I mean, their shooting's gonna.
But then they want to be one drop, right? And then if you're gonna go, so that
I don't know. You got your lines of your spearmen. I think which are gonna benefit pretty well. I genuinely, yeah, I think.
So you're gonna put Lumineth in S.
I think in a solid player's hands. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So pick.
What do you think, S?
You think just one army you're gonna put?
Oh, not just one. Oh, not just one.
You could pick. Let's say pick like tell me what ones you think are all S tier. Right in this book.
I genuinely think that Slaanesh are in an incredible place before and are now, due to just the amount of bodies they're blobbing on the table.
You think they're S tier?
No, I genuinely do. I think if you gave, I feel like they're like
controversial. We're gonna get some comments.
I know. Well, let's see. I like that book and their changes and what they've got. They can put so much shit on the table. It's unbelievable.
Is it just because you had that one game and you lost it?
Well, I think the things that used to really hurt me were like my key pieces being picked out, or not having enough runes on the table, or feeling like things were overpointed, or there was no point taking this, or having to pull allies outside the book. They've changed. Maybe they're A, but
I'd put them in A because I just think they're not as rounded, but they're
slaves are insane currently. I feel that that's just in general. That's not necessarily related to this book.
I was thinking about slaves, and I think the problem is slaves are great if you've got heroes that are mounted. Demon princes have got have got 10 wounds.
Yeah.
So like, what hero are you taking on foot? A Chaos Lord and a unit of Chosen, and they're quite slow, and you're like, it's good, but all Chaos Warriors is like, yeah, it's good, but is it? They're new, so we're not seeing them much. I know they're good. Are they S tier? I think the lack of shooting or lack of way to kill those champions with stuff probably puts them in A.
Crazy abundance of wards on their infantry, do they? Which I guess should really be a requirement.
Good armor saves though. I'd put them in A. I still think they're really good.
I think a lot of stuff's in A, isn't it, at the moment?
I mean, it could be. I think that's what we're going to have to try and eliminate the A's and put some stuff up. All right, then let's take a different approach to this then. So, I think Disciples is in S tier.
I would agree that currently for sure.
Because how do you do your damage to heroes? Spells.
Yeah. And then also you just get
they've got a lot of buttload
quality,
of good heroes,
quality fast stuff on the table. They do, and you want them anyway. They buff pretty well.
Yeah. Nighthaunt, I think are S tier.
Mm-hmm.
Purely because they're just so they're just so good. And then now you hear they're all champions. All their heroes are champions.
Oh yeah, the book's absolutely nuts.
I put Maggot King in A.
Yeah.
I think they probably would have been B. Yeah, I'll put Deepkin in A.
Yeah.
I'd agree. I think they're really strong.
I think Maggotkin are going to be like unsexily good in this edition, but that's them in every edition.
You could argue that they're in a similar place to Slaanesh, that you need to be a fairly good player to use them well. I don't think they're a very forgiving army because they're fragile. But yeah. So like they could be B with Slaanesh if you take it that way, but we'll bung them here for now. I will sequence these in the order of what I think is power as well. So with the most powerful on the left.
Or do you need to put it on screen?
Is it not on screen? It is on screen. Yeah.
Is it? I'm lagging.
It should be. Been up for ages.
Yeah, I'm good.
So Lumineth, Nighthaunt, Disciples in S, and Slaves, Magakin, Idenef, Head Knights at the moment. I'll probably, maybe put Magakin ahead of Slaves. I don't know. No.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's a few that are still impossible to do, like KO, the book's really skitsy, like 2 Ironclads.
I think KO would be B, because don't know.
Just because the nature of it, yeah. Ungradable, but potentially strong.
I'll put Sons of Behemat in C, because I think they're shit.
Yeah,
I think they're trash.
I agree with that. Soul Blight are somewhere between A and B.
I'll put them in B. Because I think a lot of their heroes are uniques, or you don't have a lot of non-unique foot heroes that are good, and you don't have ways to reach out and kill their champions anyway.
Stormcast have gone up, right?
I think so.
Whatever is going on, Stormcast must have gone up.
They're A or S tier in my opinion. I actually think they could be S tier.
They could be. I'd go with that. But I think I wouldn't put them there. But I think they potentially could. Again,
I think they've got the play issue as well. You need to be good.
You also you don't get a ton of wounds. Like, it's not like the other armies where you're like, 180 wounds. Like, what do I do with all of these? Like, you end up with a small army pretty quickly with Stormcast.
I think ogres are maybe S tier.
Yeah, I mean that. I think 2 Iron Blasters was probably the right choice anyway, right?
Yeah, of course it was.
So I would agree with that. They're really good.
And
they're very well rounded as well.
Yeah, I'll put cities in B.
Yep.
Okay.
There'll be some jank though.
I'm gonna put blades in C.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I mean they could be B, but
yeah, they're probably floating in the middle, aren't they?
They're in the fat middle, which is fine. Flesh
kind of they feel like FAC to me.
C.
Yeah, just about C. Could be B.
Or at War Clans then. Obviously, it's kind of a bit of a weird one because there's like 3 factions in one.
There are. We're gonna have to see how. The thing is, you have to play Cruel Boys quite well, I think, even with the help that they've got.
Mm-hmm.
Bone Splitters, just not worth talking about because it's not
Trash.
Really.
Yeah.
And they've been left. They just don't have enough rules or scrolls or a load of other stuff. And then Iron Jaws are kind of like slightly left behind by anything that is in S currently.
I think the lack of wards big. I put them in B. They could be A, or do you think B? Or
I think they're absolutely solid B.
Yeah. Okay.
Just because you don't do mortals really, on a level that counts enough, or at range or anything like that. And it's the lack of wards, and you don't get a huge amount of wards unless you turn up with a load of Ard boys, which that could turn out to be the meta now. Might see blood axes or whatever they're called appearing everywhere.
Fire Slayers in A tier?
I think so. I don't know why people don't talk about the mixed Fire Slayer list more. I think they're incredible.
I'm going to put Bone Reapers in B purely because I think the fact they've only got a couple choices and then they've still got all the problems that Bone Reapers have got.
Stalker stayed good though. Otherwise, I think you might be talking about putting them somewhere else. They're great, aren't they? Still?
But then you've got to take that formation as well. So it's like it kind of forces you to take. It kind of starts causing a problem. So yeah, put them in B. So we've only got Daughters, Seraphon, Sylvaneth, and Skaven to do.
Daughters just live in A, don't they?
They camp in A.
That's their house.
Yeah, I agree.
They've never
been less than A or S, right? I mean,
yeah, they've never been less, and infrequently have they been more. But every time they've been more, they've been swiftly followed by like Fire Slayers, OBR when they were the hotness and stuff like that, and kind of got a bit outclassed. So they just go in A.
I can't put Seraphon in anywhere but A.
Agreed.
Sylvaneth,
solid.
Are they B?
It's a difficult book because it's like KO. There's a very narrow selection of that. Well, there's a couple of lists that are incredibly strong.
They can do well, but I think you need to play your dick off as well.
Yeah, I think, and some things just undo you. So,
and I could say maybe Skaven are in that same boat. There's a lot of jank, but are they good with the heroes? They've got some good foot heroes.
Well, a lot of the heroes you want anyway, if you're taking Pestilence or something like that.
They do have a lot of ways to do damage but it's all shooting though, isn't it? They don't have like really.
I'd say that they're B+ if they are B, right? But
are they any better than War Clans or Soul Blight or?
No, they can still crumble.
Yeah, I'll put them in B.
Hard to say, but yeah.
Well, just for lols, we'll do that. Gloomspite in D and then Beast in A.
Beast are S currently, aren't they?
No, I don't know.
They absolutely are. Right. Like.
Yeah, maybe, but it's like this and whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, Blades need a new book, Baron. I agree. So obviously, I mean, maybe it's a bit controversial putting Disciples in S tier, but I think because they do anything to do more. I think Stormcast and Maggotkin and Slaves and Ideneth
could float up.
Disciple, Daughters of Cain, Head Knights. So all those A tier books are super good.
Yeah.
Like Lumineth, I think, are very strong now.
Yeah.
Nighthaunt, I think, are very strong.
Yeah,
Disciples, Augurs, I think maybe they drop a tier if they're A or S. I don't know, but I think they've got so many good. The problem with Ogres is your battle line units. You know, it's like you've got good heroes, but then your Iron Blasters now can't shoot their heroes. It's like, is it? Then you have to take lead belchers, but then you don't take them. So,
just for the list of things that I wrote, like, does this make your book good in this edition? Was champion heroes, and it was like, do they have high wounds? Do they have a ward? Do they have healing? Do they inherently have a hard move? And item or customization options, being like names or anything like that. The Ogres have got that going on, so they're not going to get worse as a result of that. Hey, Coach, we shouted out your excellent and very comprehensive content at the beginning of this.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
And just to reiterate, your handbook show was way more effort than I wanted to put in, and it was very good. So, So I don't know. Maybe if anyone in the chat has any opinion on it, I'm gonna ignore Gloomspite and Beast. Really, I'll put Beast down there, and I'll get why are the Beasts in D tier?
We got Coach. Coach is in. Let's see what he thinks. What do you think of that list, dude? Between bites of your breakfast.
Yeah. So I think Maggotkin could have some builds, but I do think they struggle from the fact they don't have that long range reach, and they don't have the speed, and they are costly. So, but I do think Blight Kings are very good now. I mean, they were right before, but yeah, maybe.
I'm legit waiting for a little wave of, regularly unseen armies to just appear on the tournament scene at whatever pace they can be produced. So, let's say Disciples, for example. It's not easy to get a Disciples army on the table. And if you want to have 3 units of Bliss Barbs, it gets way, way, way less easy.
Well, because it takes you about a week to build a unit. So
never mind the price, or if you're taking their elite infantry or stuff like that. But I do think a few good players are gonna open things up, look at it, and be like, "Nah, I'm filthing the hell out of this." Seraphon looking strong, 30 times skinks with the priest to boost. I mean, they are still Seraphon, aren't they?
Yeah, but then they can't. They're still okay. But I that combo hasn't got any stronger, in my opinion, because of the changes and stuff. And then I think the priest is
What army is going to benefit the most from being able to fight in the hero phase? Do you think?
You have to have survivable infantry, which will have a hero nearby
that can get there.
Well, you can only really do it,
or people come to you.
You need the double heroic action, don't you? So you need to be going second as well. So because it's that's why I think Nurgle, Slaves, those sort of stuff that you Nighthaunt, because you're going to be grinding on objectives. You've got the speed to get to the objective. They have to grind you. They can't kill the Crusader. They're not going to kill you. Bounty Hunters is gone, so your battle line units no longer get trashed by that. they're -1 damage. It's like you're getting the fact that bounty hunters going away. You're not affected by the reach issue really, unless you're playing like Scarlet Host, but which is a big deal. But then like if you go the other way of, and this is where the meta's going anyway, like Hexray spam and surviving, then you're not really don't really care about that. You just care about them getting extra damage against yours. That's gone, so you don't care about that. Your heroes now can't be shot because they are all champions. You've got new artifacts and combos to use those. You've got the movement of Nighthaunt setting up in the thing and teleporting anyway, so you've got ways to get across the table easily. They're fast, they fly, they've got wards, you've got healing. It's like, I don't know, like for me, like Nighthaunt just seem
they have not lost out in any way, and they've got better as a result of other people these things. Oh, we got Mo in the chat. All the point increases for Seraphon stop them being S. I think
I agree with that. That's why I put them in
on board with that.
Yeah.
Iron Guts can fight 3 times if they use that ability.
No, they can't, because it says they can only do it once per phase. If they've already fought that phase, they can't fight again that phase.
Do you mean they can somehow fight 3 times within a turn, or something? Stormcast in the S tier from
I think they are.
They're at the top for good reason,
because they've got good infantry with good heroes that are survivable, but you've also got lots of ways to do mortal wounds in spam, like that when you take those, what is it, a night whatever Judicator or Justicar, whatever it was, which fires and does a AoE spam blob. No, that's the one shot guy with the bird. I'm talking about the
Night Judicar.
Yeah, that one. Night something. Out of the 100 war scrolls. So he does, like, you pick a point, you do damage, and it's the same with the Scepter off the Prime, you know, all the stuff that does mortal wounds that isn't shooting. You can
3 times in a turn. I mean, that's good from anyone, right?
Yeah, but I mean, do you need to fight 3 times? Because you can't then pile in, right? You go last because you've got the strike last effect if you use the ability in the hero phase. So, Iron Guts, you're going to see him? Don't think so. I don't know.
If you're in a scenario where you can just go first and blob in the middle with a resilient army, I think there's going to be some really weird games. And they're going to be really front heavy. Like turns 2 and 3 are going to be all of the game. And
this is why I think like Maggot King are great. If you've got like a hero in a blob of Blight Kings on objective and they fight you, you go, then they charge you, they try and kill you, they don't kill you, it's your go. You double fight, you put loads of disease on, you fight again, you go last, you don't care because you just are resilient enough anyway. And it's just like the sheer number of points and disease, and I don't know, like I think it's really strong.
It's always been a great idea to just use a 6 on your run on your 20 block.
Just to put them on the table. Just to get them up there.
YOLO them up, do one up behind them, they'll probably be fine. Fleshy abundance, whatever it is. Obviously you can't do that on the non-demons, but...
Yeah, but that's why I've put Stormcast, Maggot King, Slaves this end here, and I actually think Idnef and Daughters are strong, and Head Knights, Seraphon, they're all good. Fire Slaves, maybe not as strong because they don't have some of the stuff, but obviously Beasts, we don't know yet because it's kind of pointless talking about them.
What direction did Tzeentch need to go for an S tier build? Oh, they got so many choices. They've got some really strong builds, really good useful heroes that you would want anyway, and now there's bonuses for them existing,
and the fact they can't take them out. I think you've got ways to do damage to their heroes from spells like Gateway through portals and things like that you don't care, and if you kill their champions that would affect their ability to do battle tactics. And
wipe screens out with their army as well, right?
I don't think the list really changes from what you see now. I think the problem with Disciples, they are hard to play with and they can be a bit fragile, and they are a bit of a mind, use the term politely, a bit of a mind fuck to play with. I was using Hosted a transient form bridge with Acolytes and Zangor and stuff, and it was fine. It just takes a lot of bookkeeping and time to play it. You've got a great grand strategy where as long as you've got 9 on your fate dice, you get it. So always going to get that guaranteed. Even if you get tabled, you can basically guarantee it. If you don't spaff your dice. You just be disciplined with it. You've got ways to generate fate dice. You've got lots of good heroes like Olgroid, Firmitages, things like that. They're just under the cap.
Yeah,
they're
great.
good. Slaves have got access to these like Olgroid characters as well as like good foot heroes. But you can ally in,
good in general,
because they're coalition, so you can put these kind of stuff in your army. So you can round your army out a little bit with this stuff. I don't know. They've got a lot of good choices. I think the only thing you won't see is like the internal conflagration flamer spam, because they're expensive and they're just normal shooting.
Chariots go up a bit as well. I don't know if it was enough to make a difference, but
and I think I wouldn't say it's like the strongest list anyway. I think really it's all about the doing mortal wounds from spells, endless spells, and having tar pit horrors, which do a bit of chip damage. And maybe you've got a unit of Skyfires or Enlightened. Enlightened, I think, are really good, really underrated, to do your surgical strike. It's like with Deepkin. I think you'll see like Iron Arc with Leviathan, which allows you to do that retreat and charge. And Marty Thralls are good now. Bounty Hunters have gone away. Your Reavers are great in the snipey formation. You really like them. Eels are now cheaper. They've dropped points. They're 180 instead of 195. It's a big deal. 6 surgical strike eels with a king is still great. I don't give a shit about them being champions or not. Thrall Master's great. Soul Render's great. They're both champions. You can take the Soul Squire. He's a champion. Tidecaster is a champion. Yeah, Lotan's not because he's unique, but they've got access to some really good fit heroes. They all come with a 5-up ward innately. They've already got the can't be shot, so you don't need to worry about standing near battle line units. You should just get the rule anyway. I know. Yeah, and I know a lot of people said, "Oh, well, they kind of lose out because other people get their rule," but it's a different rule. You're not restricted. It's just, are they the closest thing? Whereas the other rule is you're within 1 inch of an infantry unit. It's like
very, very different.
It's a very different. I think a battle line unit. I think it is, but it's a very
capitalize on movement, don't you? So
yeah. I think I'd never super strong. Like, I've actually been tempted to play them rather than ogres. It's a bit. I think they're harder to use.
Is that because you guys just got good and you want a challenge, or because you're really happy that your fish are now back in the game?
Bit of both. I've got the eels I need to paint. I've got them assembled. They just need to be painted, and I've got the king to paint. I wanted to do a Soul Squire anyway. I've got my 2 boats now. But I've got my ogre stuff to do as well. I've got a fire belly. I've got a tyrant. So I've already got a slaughter master and a butcher. So I'm like, did the 2 iron blasters, slaughter master and butcher for the last event. I got more pot to do because I still haven't done one because I played Beast Claw, so it's pointless. So then I borrowed one because I didn't get time. So I don't know. Lumineth are a weird one. They've got some really good heroes, but it's like things like your Kaflar, your Caligrave, your Lord Regent is on Mount, I think, but you've got like the banner, but you don't really see that. Stone Mage, they're all quite squishy heroes you want to kill, and they've got some good effects. I think the fact Sentinels exist.
Yeah. And you can ward everything with a spell if you're going in that direction as
Which you will, because you want to do that AoE ward. Of
course you do. That went up in stock now, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's just great anyway. Then you've got the Aether Quartz reserve to go, ooh, +1 save.
Stupid
and all-out defense. And you're now 2 command abilities per thing. And I think as well, like, you see, like, the Disciples having ways to do stuff like casting through portals, the spell that hits an objective and blows everything up, taking a Lord of Change and Mirrors and Kairos, or Kairos instead of a Lord of Change. Yeah. And I just, it's great.
Can't be bad, right?
No.
It just can't be bad.
No, it's not bad. It's great. So
imagine being able to be like, I'm taking first, or I'm happy with giving you first, and you've got to spread stuff out, or I'm going to take off 2 of your foot heroes. Like, that's scary. That's why Stormcast are good. Right?
It's just more chip damage. Well. I mean, that's the thing. Like, Stormcast, like, I've got loads of AoE mortals anyway.
Yeah.
And then the spell. I mean, it hits your stuff as well, but like when you've got an elite unit army that does stuff at range and just wants to be towing objectives, you don't care about that. You're not really, you're not scrumming onto an objective, and then
you got a bunch of heroes with wards or stuff like that. Is thingy like Injusta, the ones that went down in points? Are they? No, she's unique, isn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are all of their heroes of that type unique? Prime is unique. Injusta's unique.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just your guys that look like knights.
Yeah, it's like, you know, your Castellan, your Lord Relictor, you know, your Castellan, right? Your all that stuff.
They're all like War Chanter style utility pieces, but they're still worth taking in armies. Yeah.
I still think that knight, which is it Justicar, the one that has the is just great because it's got an AoE mortal spell that well, it's not a spell, but an AoE mortal thing that doesn't target, so it gets around the restriction. It shoots, but it's a champion.
Yep.
And all the stuff with like teleporting and all that is before the shooting phase.
So good.
And Stormcast have got access to units that can shoot like Judicators, long strikes, so you can do that. I can shoot your champions because I can. Like a unit of long strikes in the formation with 2 other whatever the fuck units, I don't care. Maybe Vanguard Hunters, just so they get the option.
Just the list that came out that was strong is still strong before, right?
Yeah. Owen was running a really interesting one at the team event.
I played it.
Yeah,
it's really good.
And it's just strong, solid. Like, I don't know. Like, I think, maybe I'd say they probably are S tier. I just think that they require a little bit more brains than Dragon Spam did when it first came out.
I think your tactic might be to kill your opponent's heroes and keep your 1-foot champion alive as well, because your armies end up quite small with Stormcast very easily.
I think you double, and a lot of people when they play Stormcast, the hero does a benefit buff, but then later in the game that drops off because they're not in range or they've really used it once per game, like Knight Vexler. You've used it already, just dropped off in value, but they now have more value because they give you battle tactics. They you know, so I don't know. Like, I think
the return of Knight Azeroth into Rain wrecking people's day.
And ironically, I think people who can shoot off small heroes without compromising their army too much are going to be really strong. So access to that formation with infantry units that can shoot well at range and do mortals or other things.
In armies that weren't
Sentinels. Well, even then, like, being a 3-drop or a 2-drop or a 1-drop, I don't think it really matters.
It's so strong, isn't it? Well, you're going to be a 4-drop, aren't you? If you're
4-drop.
If you're that one, but it's got to be good.
And then you've got armies that don't need to take that formation to care about reach because they weren't spamming stalkers or whatever. But like resilient infantry is good. I mean, all the resilient infantry, arguably, that was a Glacier Veterans, arguably just got better because Bounty Hunters have gone away.
Yep.
Which is why Thralls suddenly become good again. I mean,
it's a big deal.
Like, I could put my army back out, like my original version, which was like, you know, Soul. Okay, I always get it wrong. Soul Render, Thrall Master, Eidolon, 20 Thralls, 10 Reavers, some Sharks. Turtle, you know, Aspect of the Sea. You know, it's still good. Like now, and I think the Andrew, I don't like the Gaunt Summoner because I mean, I know he's more survivable, but I don't think that tower ability is that good. It doesn't mean you can't kill the Gaunt Summoner on foot now, whereas if you did put people in the Silver Tower and then they shot him off, then you'd lose the units in the Silver Tower, but now you can't shoot him off. But I still think the issue with Zinch is basically the good thing about this champion thing is it forces people to fight your horrors and not be able to shoot off your heroes or fight your heroes. But I don't think it's that big a deal, but armies that give out access to shooting that can take or AoE splash or spells which bypass everything and can kill those heroes are going to be a good point for getting battle tactics or stopping them.
Yeah, for sure. You're going to see a wave of gimmicks though. Like we've got like a good few months of people like being like, oh, I've got this guy, he can teleport, he's appearing here, or you know, this guy's popping up next to my Blood Knights and there's this sick combo. You know, this appears next to these and they get a charge buff anyway. Like there's going to be a wave of not seen before stuff due to the amount of utility in the first, you know, like 5 or 6 pages of the new GHB. Like a lot of stuff has been opened up and there's a lot of interactions in this game. So there's going to be a big ass wave of it for sure.
Yeah, and heroes that can shoot now can teleport and shoot. So because it's the movement phase, so
yeah,
you've now got stuff that have got a decent short range shooting attack can suddenly be like used well. Or artifacts or things you activate that are short range you could do, or buffs that you want a unit that you launch out, but then you need a buff in the combat phase, or a command ability that guy has that won't be in range. Now it is going to be in range, so it's like, you know, it does make a big deal. So I don't know how I feel about this handbook. I prefer it to the last one, but I still think there's far too many rules in it.
Agreed on all accounts.
And then we were talking about it before, where we kind of said that I just wish it was pitch battle again.
Yeah.
And for people who don't know, that was the old Warhammer, the world that was.
Your opponent.
Generally, it was you line up in opposite each other, and it's kill stuff, get points. That was it. There was no objectives. There was no tactics. It's into like battle tactics. There was no grand strategies. None of this rubbish. It was just, what's the best way to kill stuff?
Maneuver,
position, kill.
Sequence. Yeah.
Stuff died quickly. Things were kind of bombastic. It was fun. We had a lot of stories.
Yeah, there's still a lot of stuff going on. I would thoroughly recommend that, you know, if you're excited about taking something new, absolutely rock on, research it, do it. But if you've got an army that you've played before that you think might have got a bit better and you can make a few small adjustments, pick up something where you don't have to relearn the army and use that as the way to get into this edition. Because I think too many people made the mistake in the last GHB of, you know, adding 15 brutes in and a load of things that had changed. And it's just a huge amount of stuff to bear in mind. And then you turn up to an event and you're playing 6 new scenarios, maybe, you know, or some new scenarios or stuff like that. So I definitely recommend that people pick something that they know the rules of, the war scrolls of fairly well, maybe play with a few key items or traits or interactions like that, and give it a run out a few times like that before they go crazy. Because it's really tempting to do that, and I think it just slows things down.
Yeah. Well, I think we've covered it. We put our thoughts.
Yeah.
There will be some book review shows coming out shortly. And then tempted to do like a tournament report. I've going to Bloodshed in the Shires in a couple of weeks, so I'm decided. I was going to take Ogres, but now I'm tempted to take my Deepkin. So not sure. Let me know in the comments below which one I should take, Ogres or Deepkin.
Always take the one that your opponents will have played the least.
Generally,
especially if you like that.
I think the problem is when you've just done an event and you basically went 5-0 and didn't drop many points, you're like, maybe I just take that because it's good.
It just is it lists on the day?
Week before next weekend.
Okay.
So
you got a bit of time.
Going to the Natural History Museum with the fam next Saturday. So yeah. Anyway, so I have to do that probably Friday submission. So I've got to marinade on it a little bit, like my Moor pot, which I need to paint. So I just marinate the choice in that for the week.
You know, everyone's just gonna say Deepkin if you've done the choice.
Yeah,
conspiracies in there.
That's what I want though, really. Yeah, squirrel. I do need to paint eels and a king though if I'm going to take my Deepkin list. I think. Need to do a little bit of time writing down some, like going through it and writing some lists. I think I agree with you when you say like go to a faction you know and like maybe make a couple small adjustments. Don't go mad. But yeah, I do actually have a Disciples army that I could take, but I don't want to because I don't want to learn it. It's too much of a curve.
Yeah, it's a really steep one, isn't it, for them?
Yeah, but I'll be interested to see how it pans out, and hopefully we'll see some Sinesh up there. We'll see Stormcast doing well again. You know, all those people that invested in all the dragons can then invest in something else, and then put the dragons in the cabinet until they become good again. At some point. Well, they're all right, but not quite what they were. So
No,
yeah,
thankfully.
that's why I think it's worth, and I'd advise as any new player, don't like go extreme with any army. Like if you just took ogres, you went 4 Iron Blaster.
If it feels too good to be true,
it's going to change. So you're better off just not doing it. Like I actually played against a 4 Iron Blaster ogre list with my 2, and I beat him. And I still had an Iron Blaster at the end of the game. He didn't have any. So you don't need to do that to be good. So
you won't learn as much about your army as well.
My Thunder Tusk was
of things.
MVP, and he didn't have one, and I did. So you know, it's like, and then he was like, "Why have you got that?" I was like, "Yeah, just does stuff. It's good. I like it. Make you go last, all that sort of stuff. Nice." Yeah, but hopefully you've enjoyed the show. Sorry it's been a bit of time before we've recorded. We would probably be a little bit more frequent. Yeah, I'll be messaging patrons with a few changes. There's some things I need to do on that. I know people have been waiting for their swag, but I'm gonna restructure the Patreon a little bit because I don't have the time to commit to the things on there anymore. With family and job and stuff and real life changes, so I need to adjust that. So thank you everyone who supported me. Don't worry, you will be getting some stuff for your support. The people that have pledged the higher tiers, I'll be in contact with you directly, so I appreciate everyone who does support. The lower tier will stay, which is just like, you know, bung me a couple quid a month to keep the channel going. That'll stay. And YouTube membership I'm going to restructure a little bit as well because yeah, just to do a little bit of changes there. Hopefully everyone's going to enjoy their edition. Let us know in the comments below what army you're most excited about playing, what army you think's the best, and hopefully we can see each other at events. FaceHammer GT will be running this year, and I don't know if you've probably seen the announcement about the World Championship ticket thing in Atlanta. We have applied. Hopefully we'll get granted a golden ticket opportunity for people who want to go.
It's a qualifier, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and I think I'll be waiting for the response back from GW. I've done the application, so hopefully I'll get a positive one back from that, and then we can go forward. In terms of rules back stuff for FaceHammer GT, I don't know. I'm not sure if I'll just run the handbook, and because although the pack went down really well last year, it did drastically affect ticket sales for people who wanted to get rankings points and all the other stuff either side of the event. So I'm tempted just to leave it, but hey ho, don't know.
We'll see.
Yeah, all right, watch this space. There'll be more information coming out next month about FaceHammer GT, and yeah, thanks. Happy New Year, everyone, and
New Year, peeps.
We'll be putting more content out shortly. So yeah, see you all soon, and thanks for watching,
guys. Cheers for watching. Let us know what you think of the tiers. Bye.
Take it easy.